all love a good rebel. Harry Potter wouldn't be the hero we adored had he not ruffled feathers, defied authority, and broken a few rules. The same goes for Matilda, Huck Finn, Jo March, and many more. These rebels challenge the status quo and are not afraid of getting into a little trouble. So, you can imagine how thrilled I was the morning I got a phone call telling me my daughter Cammie had been sent to the principal's office. Thrilled's the wrong word. Confused, upset, embarrassed. That's what I really felt. Because no matter how inspiring the heroes of our stories might be, in real life, parents don't want rebellious children. We want kids who get straight A's, gold stars, and lots of awards for good behavior. Because we believe that's the secret recipe for creating happy, successful adults. So the question is, does the world need more gold star students, or does it need creative rebels? There's been a lot of talk about creativity over the past few decades. We know it's essential. Creativity is at the heart of innovation, and without it, societies become stale, and progress dies. In fact, a recent poll of over 1,500 CEOs found that creativity was the single best indicator of future success. Creativity also has an impact on mental health. With anxiety and depression on the rise, the creative process provides us with a flexible, empowering sense of control that can ease the tension of our modern world. It's a natural mood lifter, a confidence builder, and a joyful part of our human experience. The good news, we're all born creative. NASA scientists conducted a long-term study and found that 98% of 5-year-olds scored at creative genius levels. The bad news is that by adulthood, that number plummets to just 2%. So what happens to our creativity? Most people will point their fingers at the school systems. After all, we know creative students suffocate in our factory model of education, while conformity is rewarded. But if schools are killing creativity, they aren't doing it alone. They have an accomplice, and it's us, the parents. Full of love and good intentions, we stick with rigid systems that smother creativity because well-behaved kids feel safer. And because no parent wants the heartbreak of a child left out, left behind, or standing out in left field. So any warning sign of disruption is a signal to intervene. But there is no creativity without disruption. Bringing something new into this world, whether it's a thing or an idea, means first making a mess. And parents, we understand this better than most. I mean, have you seen a birth so gross, but so amazing? We know disruption is sometimes warranted to create positive change. It's why we love the stories of heroic rebels. But while creativity is a rebellious act, parenting a rebel still feels dangerous. At just 9 years old, my Cammie is the most creative person I know. She's not just artistic, she is a problem solver. She thinks on her feet and is always making connections. Of course, that creative spirit also means she is not afraid to push back on rules or boundaries that feel stifling. And that's precisely what got her in trouble 15 minutes before I got that dreaded phone call from her school. Cammie was playing at recess when a boy grabbed her from behind, tight. My little firecracker broke free, told him to stop, and went on her way. But then he did it again. Except this time, she couldn't escape. Now, I don't know what she was feeling in that moment, but I can imagine my feelings. How many situations have stopped me in my tracks and left me feeling stuck? That's exactly how I felt as I listened to the woman on the phone as she described the situation. And it's these moments where our creativity saves us. Because creativity isn't reserved only for the artistic elite. It's the foundation of problem solving, a necessary skill for every person on this planet. Without creative minds, there is no social change, no new technology, and no answers to life's big questions. So when that boy grabbed my daughter for the second time, she went into problem-solving mode. And she used what she had, her teeth. Not surprisingly, it worked. As soon as she bit down, that boy let go. And he was punished, but so was Cammie. The school called to let me know she'd be spending lunch in the principal's office because of their no violence policy. As I listened to the woman on the phone, I felt torn. My desire to please authority and raise a charming, well-behaved child momentarily quieted the anger that was stirring inside. But I just kept thinking, what else was she supposed to do? Give up? Submit? She had found a solution to her problem. Yes, it was disruptive, and yes, a nonviolent approach would have been preferred. But what if there isn't one? If history and recent events have taught us anything, the solutions we most desperately need are often born from creative disruption. Our world's biggest challenges require more than innovative ideas. They demand each of us to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, to be rebellious. But we're not great at teaching our kids that reality. Instead, we place them on a conveyor belt that tries to shape them into a model student. We expect good grades and a long list of extracurriculars. We praise only the most socially acceptable behaviors while hiding any messy bits in the shadows. Our kids are paying attention. They hear how we talk about anyone who doesn't fit the mold. They understand not to stir the pot or drift away from cultural standards, and they know what skills, behaviors, and personalities have the highest value, and they have been calculating their worth by those standards since day one. As I pictured my daughter sitting in the principal's office, I realized I had a choice. I could either teach her that following the rules should be her top priority, or that breaking them is sometimes necessary. And let's be honest, telling her to just play nice would have been easy. But what would that mean for her future? Would she be willing to think outside the box in a similar situation, a more dangerous one? Would she be willing to stand up, stand out? No, this was my chance, not just to comfort her, but to make sure shame didn't extinguish her creative spark. As we sat down after school, I approached the conversation carefully. Do you think the school's no biting rule is a good one, I asked? Yes, she said softly. So what else could you have done? She was quiet for a long time, and then finally said, I guess I could have kicked him. We both laughed as she realized there were not a lot of non-physical approaches, so we imagined different scenarios. We talked about what she thought was right and fair. I told her I was on her side, glad that she stood her ground, and her creativity served her well. 10 minutes was all it took to mold the disruption into a meaningful learning experience. That's the creative power we have as parents. While it may take time for our schools to catch up with our modern world, there is so much we can do right now to save our kids' creativity. We can value courage over grades. We can praise mistakes, celebrate failures, and make room for dissent. Because if we really want our kids to succeed, we need them to stay the creative geniuses they were born to be. And we do that by teaching them that sometimes rebellion is good.